All right, so far I see we've got some folks coming in from Pennsylvania, Georgia, Alabama, Minnesota, Tennessee,
Oh,
Atlanta. This is fabulous. Nebraska, North Carolina, Florida, California. This is so exciting. Well, thank you all for taking this time to join us. This is another installment of our year-long journey on Cox Campus, and we are so excited to bring you some more content this afternoon. So we've got Colorado represented and Georgia, some more from Georgia, and North Carolina. Awesome. So we can go ahead and start to get this rolling. All right, so for today, we'll be diving deeper into the Talk With Me practice, and that's located within our infant toddler track. It's one of our courses, Talk With Me. And so this afternoon, we'll have a particular emphasis on consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. So that'll be an exciting mix that we added in for this afternoon. And so my name is Lethea Lipscomb. I am a Birth to 5 facilitator with the Rollins Center for Language and Literacy. Real quick, a little bit about myself. I've been in education for about 11 years now. I'm very passionate about educational equity. And in my free time, I enjoy walks and hikes and binge watching shows on Netflix and other streaming services. So always looking for a good show recommendation. And next, we'll have my colleague.
Hi, my name is Shantae Lyons. I am also a Birth to 5 facilitator and a Cox Campus facilitator here at the Rollins Center at Atlanta Speech School. And I'm passionate as well about empowering educators and about making sure that all children get what they need to develop and be active participants in society. So I enjoy collaboration and just reaching out to all that's near and far. So in my free time, I love to look at a great movie, and I love taking naps. So I don't know what it is about it, but there's nothing better than a great nap. So that's an interesting fact about myself.
I love a good nap. All right, so moving forward, these are some of our core values. We've got rewarding, empowering, connecting, safe, and essential. And one of the ones that we'll really be leaning in today is connecting, as we're sharing this space this afternoon with one another, learning with each other and learning from each other. So that'll be one of our bigger ones that we'll be leaning into today together. And with that, we've got our Cox Campus, and the work from today's session can all be accessed on our Cox Campus website. You can find resources, courses, and a robust community. And it's free, and that's due to the support of some generous donors. And so we may be able to drop that link in the chat for you so you can quickly access that if you haven't been on Cox Campus just yet. Yep, so it's dropped in the chat. Thank you, Laura. And if you're new to Cox Campus, please, we encourage you to sign up. You can use that same link that Laura dropped into the chat. And it takes less than a minute to sign up, and you'll get access to all of these wonderful resources that we have available to help support you in the wonderful work you do with children. And now I'll pass it on to Shantae.
Okay, great. So our objectives for today, first, we want to make sure that we describe how to build children's language by tuning in, asking questions, lifting language, and keeping it going. So we'll introduce you or reintroduce you to our Talk With Me practice. And then secondly, we're going to explore ways to consistently engage children in conversations to facilitate critical thinking, problem solving, and making predictions. Thirdly, we want you to leave with concrete examples of how to incorporate meaningful language in your rituals, routines, and your daily schedule. So those are our objectives for today. The next slide. This is the essential ecosystem elements fan. And so today we want you to really stay tuned to the two elements that we have highlighted here. The first one that we have is children as conversational partners. So that's one element that we are really going to dive into because strong language abilities significantly impact children's reading abilities later on. And that's really important for vocabulary development and comprehension. And another element that we're going to focus on, as you already can guess, is consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. And that's really important because when classroom rituals and routines are rooted in care, connection and predictability, they give children a sense of stability and support their learning, independence, and their confidence. So that's just an overview of the ecosystem elements for today and how we'll be connecting to them. So here we go, what we need to know. Children who have been in classrooms where teachers talk with children when they respond to their play have a stronger language skills. And so basically we want, in other words, teachers who are engaged in conversation with children during their free play or choice, they're able to really make more of a difference in children's language than, say, opposed to educators who may talk more frequently. So like less frequently when it's not associated with play, if that makes sense. So that's one why. Another thing that we know is that varied and rich word use, something that is meaningful to a child, is important than the amount of talking. So basically, in other words, you have to really make sure you're engaging children in things of interest to them, right? And something that's really important to a child when you're entering their play. And then also, when talking with children about meaningful information, something that matters, that focusing on, other than focusing on the color and shape of that something. So I really want to make sure that I put emphasis on this. So when we're talking and we want to make sure that it's critical and it matters, we want to make sure that we kind of not focus necessarily on those rote skills, such as the colors and the shapes and number in isolation, because that really reduces the vocabulary development because it denies children access to the vocabulary that's related to a specific content. And then we can transition. So now, here we go to powerful interactions and power language and responsive interactions. This is really important because the ideal environment for a reading brain is one that's warm and loving and where there's a trusting relationship between the child and the teacher. And so we really want to make sure that we put emphasis on responsive interactions, right? And so that consists of 5 elements, which is tuning in, getting into a child's world. Also, another element is facial expressions, an element of touch, gestures, and child-directed speech. And this was something that was highlighted in a previous webinar before, but we want to make sure that we reinstate the importance of those responsive interactions for you today. And we could go on to the next. Also too, here we have the talk with me. We really want to iterate this, and those of us that have been with us before, you've probably seen this, but talk with me, our practice occurs throughout the day, okay? And it's driven by the interests of children, and it typically occurs in the context of play. And it's a back and forth exchange between the teacher and the child. And it absolutely requires responsive interactions. So great thing that we just reviewed that. And then also talk with me, it embraces scaffolded questions. So you have closed and open-ended questions that are really important for that vocabulary development and comprehension. We can go on to the next slide. So we have a question here. And please feel free to drop your thoughts in the chat box or click your hand raise feature and we can share the mic with you. And our question goes as this: how can we engage in meaningful conversations with infants and toddlers? Take a moment to think about it and just pop something in the comment section, what resonates with you, what comes to mind. So we'll give you a couple moments to reply. And I'm going to scroll down and see what's coming in. So I have talk. Hey, Candace, thank you. Tune into their interest. You could talk their rides. Oh, you could talk to the children when they're riding at home or to school with mommy and daddy. We can describe everything. That's another way to engage children in meaningful conversations. Absolutely right. I have another member here, so acknowledge their babble and use of serve, and return strategies. Absolutely. So even infants, you know, they don't have language, they're learning, but we have to acknowledge those interactions, right? And so that's a great point. Get on their eye level, tune into them. Absolutely. Ask lots of questions, love that, about their interests. And when you ask those questions, they're going to be probably open, right? And so they'll give you an opportunity to really engage in language with them. Comment on what they're doing. Absolutely. That's that parallel talk. You can do it during diaper changing. You can talk all throughout the day. Absolutely. So there's really a lot of different ways for you to engage in meaningful conversations with infants and toddlers. I even see, as I continue to scroll down, we have a lot of people here, which is amazing. During bath time, during song and finger plays, absolutely.
Then I think we've got Sonia with her hand raised.
We do. Oh, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah.
I was gonna say, we can start building relationships with the beginning of the day, saying good morning, how are you? Wow, what a pretty dress you're wearing.
Absolutely.
Just get interest in what they look like or what they're wearing, how was it going on the morning, so many things.
Absolutely. It starts at the beginning of the day. I'm so glad that you pointed that out. During arrival time, being very intentional by making sure where you are in the room and greeting them and starting them off on a great way and engaging them in conversation. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We really appreciate it. I see lots of repetition, yeah, and being intentional and other different times throughout the day. So thank you so much for sharing all of that information. So, Simone has a hand up. I think I saw that cue that time, Letha, or is that the old one? Oh, it's down now. Oh, I was late.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was
man. I thought, guys,
No, I'm
I
here.
thought I was getting hit.
There we go. Hey, Simone.
I'm here.
Oh, great. Okay, I thought it was okay. That's perfect.
No.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, hi. Paying attention to their body language and their gestures and their eye contact, what they're looking at while you speak to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're our conversational partners and they need all of those things. We need to make sure that we are being responsive to them. And thank you so much for sharing, Simone. Really appreciate it. I'm getting familiar with the features and all, and I'm loving this interaction here. So thank you much. I think we can kind of pivot to the next section now. And so this just basically reiterates what we were all discussing a moment ago. How can we engage in meaningful conversations? Some things to point out is be familiar with developmental milestones. That's really important, right? And being responsive to children, like you heard someone say, being on their eye level, being intentional, greeting them in the morning, starting those conversations, and use spoken words to express knowledge, ideas, feelings, and to make meaning out of their world. Those are all ways that we can engage infants and toddlers in meaningful conversations. So we can go to the next slide.
All right, so let's really dig into this practice called Talk With Me. It's, again, one of our courses on our infant toddler track, and it's broken down into 4 different chunks, and it's very similar to our preschool pre-K track where they have the talk practice. Now with Talk With Me, we're starting off with tuning in, so we're really trying to enter into the child's world. Then we got the A, the ask questions. That's where we're trying to engage children in conversation. And if they're not yet talking, we're modeling that conversation, but also we are also making sure that any attempts that they have to communicate that we are acknowledging those. And there are some different ways that we can do that. Then we have lift language, because of course we want to continue to infuse different types of vocabulary, a variety of vocabulary in a variety of contexts into the conversations we have with children, because that repeated exposure is important. And then we want to keep the conversation going. So whether the child is verbal or nonverbal, we want to keep that interaction going. So we try to strive for 5 with that. So we'll be breaking this down into 4 different chunks: our T, our A, our L, and our K. And first off, we will start with our T for tune in. So before we get started, we have a lovely video clip which breaks down the entire Talk With Me practice into the 4 different chunks. And it's a very quick clip. We're sure that you guys are going to love it. But as you're watching, think about, what do you see, what do you hear, and what do you notice? And feel free to use the chat to drop in your ideas on what you see happening and hear happening in this interaction with an infant or young toddler.
I see you playing in the mirror. I see you looking at yourself. Who is that? It's Sebastian Peekaboo. Who do you see? There's JoJo. You walking? Where we walking to? Oh, I see you climbing over. You going over? Where we going? There's Sebastian. Come on. You walking back down? You going down? Let's come on. Hi, Bria. Hi, Bria. Come on, Bash. Go down. Come on, Bria. You gonna walk down with Sebastian? Let's walk down with Sebastian. Come on.
All right, so a very short clip, but what were some things that you saw, heard, or noticed during that interaction with that young child? And we're gonna try to, there we go. Oh, then another person we can mute. All right, there we go. Okay, so feel free again to use the chat to drop in some things about what you noticed, what you heard, or what you saw during that interaction. And again, this is highlighting our Talk With Me practice. I see Julianne, she said giving him language to what he is doing. Yes, she's using a parallel talking about what he's doing. Candace said, I noticed the curiosity in the child. Yes, he's exploring, he's looking into that mirror, and his teacher is right alongside with him as he explores. Lithonia says that she was very descriptive. Yes, she's describing every part of that engagement with that child and every action that he's making. Julianne said that she's having fun and making the interaction positive. The caregiver was in close proximity and she tuned into the infant. Yes, very close proximity at eye level. Another comment is she's on the floor with the children using names, repeats language attempts, exciting voice and touch. So touching on some of those responsive interactions we reviewed a bit earlier about using your voice and using touch. Teacher was very engaged by remaining in close physical proximity, narrating actions. Yes, very interactive, mimics the child, comments on actions and expands. So using that expanding language, keeping it going, using questions, declarative, intonation changes. Yes, a lot of you are picking up on her tone of voice. Let's see. And we have someone with their hand up. All right, Sonia, are you ready to share? Let's see.
Yes, I was gonna say the same things everybody's saying, describing what is going on, to where he's going over, and engaging with the other kid too. Just so many things.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Yes, so that pretty much encapsulates a lot of those different observations that you all had shared in the chat, and Sonia helping to wrap us up there as we kind of move along and kind of break these different steps down. So let's get into the T. All right, so we have T, our tune in, and we like to kind of make, some binoculars so that we're really focusing in and getting into the child's world. So we're watching and noticing. We're not trying to really rush in there with our own agenda. We want to see what the child is engaging in and doing so that we can kind of make notice of what they're doing. So we've got some sentence starters, things like I see, I think, I notice, I wonder, and using those to help enter into the child's world. And so those are just more of like statements to use to help describe what's going on. So again, we're not coming in with our own agenda. We're trying to, see where the child is at, what they're doing, and just describe that as the entryway into the child's world. And then we're going to give that wait time after, oh, I see you looking at yourself in the mirror, and give that wait time for that child to respond, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, and then kind of move into those next steps. And so some of the things that y'all had picked up in that previous video was about using that teacher talk, describing about what you noticed, what the teacher is very descriptive, that physical proximity we saw in the video, the teacher was right up there with the child as the child was moving along, and waiting for that child to respond, giving that wait time, and then responding back. And as we saw in the video, the teacher is very intentional about using the children's names and lifting that language and vocabulary. So on this next slide, we've just got some of those sentence starters, the I see, I wonder, I notice, I'm thinking. And so these are some great ways to use to kind of enter into the child's world. And remember, with our teacher talk, again, we're just describing, commenting on what we have noticed. And there's 3 different types of teacher talks. We've got our parallel talk, which is a bit of what we saw in that video before. And that's talking out loud about what the child is doing or seeing or hearing. Then we've got self-talk, and that's where we're talking aloud about ourselves. Like, what are we doing? What are we saying? What are we feeling? And so narrating ourselves. And then you have that think aloud, where you're talking out loud about your thought processes. I wonder what's going to happen when you X, Y, Z. So just kind of that thinking about your own thinking. And so in this next slide, I'm going to check the time to see if maybe we've got time to do maybe one picture. And this is just a practice using those tune in sentence starters and tuning in and getting into the child's world. So with this first picture, we have a little boy, he's got some maracas, and if I were his teacher, walking up, as I see him kind of shaking his maracas about, I could say, oh, I see you smiling and giggling. I notice you're shaking something. Those look like maracas. I wonder what you're going to do next. And so, oh, I see some folks dropping some of their own tune ins into the chat. So yes, feel free. What are some different ways that you would tune into either the child in the first picture, it could be the child in the second picture, or the child in the third picture? What are just some different ways that you could tune in? Again, the I see, I wonder, I'm thinking, I notice. Okay, thank you for that, Laura. So we're just going to refresh real quick so that we can have a fuller picture for everybody. There we go. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All of the lovely behind the scenes support that we have going on is fantastic. All right, so again, we have got our first little friend shaking the maracas. I see Araceli, and I apologize if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Please let me know. Her tune-in sentence was, I see you are shaking the maracas. Short and sweet, a way to enter into the child's world, describing exactly what she sees. Anybody else would like to take a try with one of our pictures? We've got Sonia with her hand raised. Thank you, Sam. Let's try to unmute Sonia.
I will tell the little one, they say, wow, I see that you biting this spoon, but I don't think, that tastes good. You would like to have a cookie.
I love it.
Yes, that's a fun one. Yes, I see you biting the spoon. I wonder if it tastes good.
Yeah.
That's a great way to get into the child's world and just wondering about, what they think about how it tastes. And I see some more in the chat. I wonder what you see in your book. I see you looking at the book. I see you are pointing to the picture in the book. These are all lovely examples of just different ways to tune in, describing exactly what you see. Caroline's dropping in another one. I wonder what animal that is you're looking at in the book. So she notices that the child's hand is placed on one of the animals in the book. All right, thank you so much. And we can move right on along because I know we have lots and lots to share. So thank you for all of your contributions. And if you notice in the chat, Laura has dropped a link to our Tune In Sentence Starter. So this is one of our resources just to give some ideas on some different ways that you can tune in with children from different age groups. We've got infants, young toddlers, older toddlers, and these are all just different examples. This is not an exhaustive list. These are just some ideas. So feel free to check out this resource on Cox Campus. Again, it's free. You don't have an account yet, make an account so you can access some of these lovely resources. I have some teachers who like to jot them down, post them up around the room just for some little reminders to be tuning in when engaging with children.
And I love that, Lethea, because that makes me think about just setting yourself up for success when implementing something new. And so that's a great way to do it. Like you said, just chunking it, putting it around the room. So kudos to you for uploading or highlighting that. That's amazing.
Awesome. So we can move right along. All right.
All righty, so now it's time for us to talk about the different parts of the day. And we really want to make sure that we highlighted specific times of the day, and we're going to start with arrival time. So we're about to watch a video of a teacher tuning in, and we want you to look and think about what you're seeing, reflect on what you're hearing, and what you noticed. So we're going to go ahead and play the video. This little friend here.
You ready to see your friends this morning, Daniel? Look at all your friends who are already here waiting on you, Daniel. Let's go tell your friends good morning. Let's tell your friends good morning. Come on. Say good morning, Aubrey. Look, and Miss Melody is here already. Look, and there's Kai and Brooklyn and Kaylee. All your friends were waiting on you. You say good morning. Say hello, everybody. Yes. Look, your friends are saying good morning to you, Daniel. Miss Melanie is saying good morning. How do you do? Good morning, Daniel. How do you do? Good morning, Daniel. How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? Choo choo! Yay, Daniel! Good morning.
Daniel is here. He has arrived. So really, we really want to get a chance to hear from you again in the chat. What did you notice? What did you see from the very beginning? And I'm going to look in the chat area when Daniel was greeted, and think about what you saw with the interaction and what you heard. Sonia has her hand up. I'm getting good at these cues. All right, great. Sonia, go ahead.
I noticed the teacher was very excited, just kind of engaging with everybody to greeting their child.
Yeah, she was really intentional. Yeah, that's a great point, Sonia. She was really intentional, and she was really eager, to start his day. And he was just in awe. He was engaged with everything that she was saying. You saw his eyes. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing. I also see someone in the chat. We have a lot of friends. Daniel was made to feel special. Absolutely. I need to scroll up a little bit more. Yeah. And I see my chats are going a little bit faster than what there's a lot of chats in here. They kept repeating his name, and there's one-on-one time. A nice welcome. They kept repeating his name. There was gestures towards the other children. You really saw that they were going through a process, their routine. It was a ritual, but they knew what was going on. He felt greeted. This is really great. Let's keep going. Daniel was familiar with the song. He absolutely was. They've practiced it before, right? And let's see. Can we get that song? I know, right? I don't know about that one. We might have to come up with the verbiage on that and make sure you get that. I don't think we have that on Cox Campus yet, but absolutely, it was a great song. Let's see here. Am I missing anything else, Lethea? I love the choo-choo. Yeah, we love the choo-choo at the end as well, too. So that was arrival time. It was definitely an engaging interaction. She was very responsive. And what a great way to welcome your children in the morning time to start off their day. And she had a lot of language, very rich language. So we're going to keep it going to the next slide. So we do have some resources that we want to share with you. And there's a resource in our resource area called Vocabulary for the First Weeks of School and Beyond. And you have them for infants and toddler classrooms, and then you have the young and the older toddlers. But basically, it breaks it down from the morning to morning greeting, to morning meeting, to different routines, and give you vocabulary that you can kind of introduce. So you can be very intentional when you're planning your lesson plans. And then it gives you an example of what that verbiage may look like. So there are great resources to have and put in, say, like a sleeve or protector, so you can refer to it. But definitely a resource you got to have in your resource toolkit. And then also too, we have some examples of ideas of routine idea cards, which are targeting that morning arrival. So you get different examples, morning transition, and then also group greeting. So those are some things that you can definitely check out in our Cox Campus area. And we have a new search feature that really helps to find what you're looking for. So those are the resources that we want to kind of highlight for this particular section.
And I don't know, Sonia, do you have another contribution for us, or did we forget to put your hand down?
You forgot to put my hand down.
Thank you for clarifying.
I love it. We love it. So the next area we really want to make sure that we highlight with the talk practice here is asking questions, okay? And so with asking questions, we invite participation, and we want to make sure that we model turn taking. So that is asking questions based on what you observe and what you're going to comment on those things. And we want to make sure when we're asking questions that we supply children with wait time so they can process and give us a response. And then it's also important to make sure that we differentiate, based on the skills of the children that we're interacting with. And so we can give them some scaffolded help along the way. And that looks like with your open-ended and your closed-ended questions, you might need to provide children with a either or a fill in the blank to make sure that they're successful with their responses. So that's something that you can take in consideration when you're asking your questions that are open, that will allow you to really get more language back from the child in comparison to those closed questions, which are really like a one answer type of answer work that you would get from a question. Yeah, let's go on to the next. Here, I love this slide here because it talks about the levels of questioning. And you can see from on this particular chart here that from when children are infants, you have a tendency to ask questions that are mostly closed, okay? Because that's more appropriate. So children are labeling, they're locating, they're noticing, and you're asking them, what's that? Where's that? And they're not yet talking in the conversation. So you kind of start off with that type of level of questioning for the younger children. And then it kind of transitions to you describing and recalling things. So those questions may look like, what is he holding? Or how is he feeling? What happened? And they're giving you single words, okay? And then the next step, when you're thinking about the levels of questioning, you're going to start comparing, predicting, and judging, and you're going to ask them how. right? And what will happen next? And it becomes more open. And then you'll start receiving like a 2-word combination from those children. And then lastly, but not least, we kind of go into the reasoning and the solving problems, and we're asking explicitly why, right? And the children are able to give us more simple sentences. So this is a really great chart to refer to when you're thinking about the levels of questioning and what you should ask at what particular age. So we can go to the next. Oh boy, we have another video for you. And this is the time of the day for infants and toddler teachers that we all love, but it's diaper changing. And it's really important and very powerful that we look at this video interaction. Again, as you're looking, please keep in mind what you're seeing and what you're hearing and what you notice so that we can share out. Okay, and we can go ahead and play.
Do you have any surprises for me? No surprises today? No surprises today? No? Yes, I see that. Touch your finger. Can I touch your finger? Can I touch your finger? Yes, you see the star? I'm gonna pretend my finger is the star. Don't bite it. Are you ready to eat? Are you ready to eat? Yes. You see my fingers? Tickle, tickle, tickle. Tickle, tickle, tickle. I tickle you. Yes, I tickle you, Dan. You like my fingers? You like the gloves? You see the gloves? You like that texture? That smooth texture. Can I change your diaper now? All right. Can I change your diaper? Can I change your diaper? Peekaboo, I see you. Peekaboo, I see you. I see you. I see you. You smiling at Miss Melody? Yes. You liking to change your diaper? Do you have a dirty diaper today? You did? You had a good day. A good day. You gonna tell mommy about our day? Say we sang songs. You wanna sing a song? You wanna sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Yes. Say twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder what you are. Will you sing it back with me? Up above the world so high, like a...
Thank you so much. But that was an interaction for you when you think about diaper changing. And again, we want to hear from you. What did you see in this interaction? What did you hear? And what did you notice? Think about that language. Let me pull in my chat. Okie dokie here. I don't think I see anything right now, but I could be. Anyone want to chat what they saw? Yes, I see now. I love that she takes the opportunity to engage with him and not rush the process to change his diaper. Thank you, Julianne. I really appreciate that feedback. There was so much language provided to him. There really was. Priscilla said she kept him engaged and he didn't get upset. He was not getting upset at all. I agree 100%. He was right there with her the whole time. Let's see here. I also see Claudia. She was asking if she can change him now, and he was ready. Melinda said she made eye contact with the child while she spoke. Absolutely. She kept her eyes on him. She asked him, do you like my gloves? Questions that are fun and silly, very attentive, reading his cues, soothing. Yeah, he's not yet talking. So she's really in that stage of labeling and looking and noticing, but she's also describing certain things too. So she's using that parallel talk. I see we have someone says, Trisha, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name, but I think very attentive and reading his cues. You're right, soothing voice and singing. She had a very calm and gentle voice, very soothing, a very trusting relationship. You can tell that she's very responsive. I see more and more just coming in. I saw how much language she was describing the process. It's really amazing that, during this time throughout the day, something as simple as diaper changing, you can engage in a conversation with a child and have meaningful experiences once you change that view and view them as a conversational partner. You can talk about anything and they are benefiting from it. And it's really important for their development for vocabulary and for comprehension. Shall we tell mommy about your day? Absolutely. I see that, Melinda. She made him feel safe. Absolutely. this was a really good exchange to see, and there were a lot of exchanges, and she just kept going. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts and your feedback. Talking about anything is beneficial. Absolutely, Laura. And this is a great video to share with families. And something that they can do when they are changing diapers. I have a toddler at home. I talk to him all the time. It is a great time to have some meaningful conversations. And I see that Sonia has her hand up.
Yeah, you already said what I was gonna say, sorry.
No, that's okay. You can that's fine. We really appreciate your interaction, and anyone else that wants to raise their hand, they can come on in. Sharing is caring. So we can go on to the next slide. So checking the time, let me see here. I think we might have closed and open activity. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share 2 sentences, okay? And what I need you guys to do in the chat, if you feel like the question is closed, put a C in the comment. If it's open, put an O in the comment, okay? So let me go ahead and ask you 2 questions. Are you ready for my first question? Here we go. All right. What color is the block? What type of question is that? Is it closed or is it open? I see a C, a C's. Absolutely. It is closed because there's only one answer. The block is just the color. And we can't really get more out of that. You know, we didn't really open that question up to get more language from that child. Let me give you another one. Are you ready? Let me get a really, really good one. What are you wearing on your feet? It's still, I see Brittany with a C. It's still closed. I thought I was going to be able to trip you up on that one. And I said just 2, and I'm going to honor the 2 questions, but I really want to give you an example of an open, but maybe next time, but you get the gist. If you ask a really specific question, you get a really specific answer. And so we really want to make sure that when we're asking those questions, we allow the children to have an opportunity to use their language. So we want those questions to be open, and we want them to just be able to expound on it. So an example of an open question is, tell me about your drawing. And then you never know where the conversation is going to go. It's a really open conversation. Thank you so much for participating. We're going to go on to the next slide. And now it's time for Lethea to take over.
Yes, so now we're going to get into lift language. So far we've done our tune in with our binoculars. We did our ask questions, which we can kind of think of like a shoulder shrug, like wondering questions, and then lift language. So we're going to raise the roof because we want to lift that language and infuse that into conversation. So with this piece, we want to narrate everything that you're doing with children. You want to use those gestures as you're talking. There's different ways that you can model language. You can build up and break down vocabulary. You can restate what children are saying if they're communicating. If they're nonverbal, you're able to use that parallel talk to narrate what the child is doing or their attempts to communicate. And then there's also that self-talk that we referenced earlier, just about narrating what you yourself are doing. And so build up, break down. Again, that's where you're sharing a new vocabulary word, but you're using it in context and giving a child-friendly definition. So for example, you could say, the food we've made together looks appetizing. When something is appetizing, that means it tastes really good. So you're offering that vocabulary word appetizing, but then you're also giving a child-friendly definition for what that means. It means it tastes really good. So the child is getting that exposure to that term that may be unfamiliar, and then they're getting a child-friendly definition to help them learn what that word is. And so again, when we're lifting language, we do want to make sure that we are using words in multiple contexts so that children are able to get that exposure and then for our more verbal children, for them to eventually be able to use that term as well. Restating is taking what the child says. So if they say something like, my picture is like hers, and you as the teacher could restate it and say, yes, your picture is similar to each other. For your narrating or self-talk, again, how we kind of referenced earlier, it's just talking about what the child is doing. I see that you're organizing your vegetables by their different colors. And then for that self-talk, you talking about yourself, what you're doing. Oh, I'm pouring the water gradually so that it doesn't spill out of the plant. You're just describing what you're doing using vocabulary. And thank you so much, Laura. She dropped in some of those helpful resources, our 101 Tier 1 words in English and Spanish, and our 101 Tier 2 words in English and Spanish. And so on our next slide, we'll kind of talk about those different tiers of vocabulary, so we can get a quick look at that after we kind of reground in some research. So again, the vocabulary is important, even with our infants and toddlers. Vocabulary plays a critical role in future reading achievement. Teachers, we're using those complex sentences, those child-friendly definitions, so that children get that exposure to language and therefore impacting their language when they get to that point where they're getting more verbal. And building the vocabulary depends not only on hearing the words, but also finding information about word meaning in the speech that one hears. So again, offering different ways to define those different words and bring meaning. So using those gestures and props and defining those words in your conversation with children. And so next slide, this is where we've got our triangle. We've got our different tiers of vocabulary. At the bottom of our triangle, our biggest section is our Tier 1 vocabulary. Those are our basic common words. And so with our infants and toddlers, we're going to be using those a ton with our little ones. So these are words that they, typically children know these before entering school. And so in these environments, it's a great opportunity to use these words, give children that exposure. And we've got those resources in the chat to help out with those. Our Tier 2 words, step above, those are rich words with high utility. So we're using those a bit more. We've got some examples: occupy, explore, assist. So those are some words that we would have to provide some child-friendly definitions and use them in different contexts to help children be able to get that experience with that. And so Tier 2 words, you start to use those more with our older toddlers. And when children get into, those school age environments, those are words that will come up a lot in the text that they get to engage with. And so by front loading all of this wonderful information, having these wonderful conversations with children all throughout the day in your routines, you're helping to build their conceptual understanding. So we can kind of move forward and checking the time. And so these two lovely resources are in the chat. So we've got them in English and Spanish, but of course, there are tons of other languages depending on, the different children that you serve. So definitely, think about connecting in some different ways and infusing some of the children's language into your conversation as you are exposing them to different vocabulary. So we can take a look at the use of vocabulary during another routine, such as hand washing, something we do every day. So what do you notice? What do you hear? What do you see?
Oh, you pulled your sleeves up. Let's pull our sleeves up, pull our sleeves up together. Right, look. What should we do next? Let's turn the lever on. The lever goes, let me show you. It goes up and down. Can you say lever? Lever. Yeah, let's turn the lever up. Can you press it up? And we're gonna wash our hands. Push, push, push the lever up together. And then we're gonna place our hands up under the water and get them wet. We're gonna rinse them with the water. Can you rinse your hands? Rinse, rinse, rinse your hands together. It's a little cold, isn't it? It's very cool. Now we're gonna take the soap and we're gonna pump the soap together. You ready to pump the soap together? Pump, pump, pump the soap together. Pump, pump, pump the soap. Now we're gonna rub our hands.
And I see Laura with our time check. Thank you so much. And so for this piece, I'll just kind of plop in some of the things that I noticed, but we've got how she tuned in. oh, wow, you pulled your sleeves up. So something that she noticed the child doing. She asked some open-ended questions. What should we do next? So that leaves it open for the child to, decide like, okay, well, what do we do next in our hand washing process? Some vocabulary. She was lifting lots of vocabulary in here and demonstrating too. Lever, rinse, cool, pump, rub, demonstrating rub, in between, prepared. So she was infusing a lot of language into this daily routine. So there's lots of opportunities for us to use the Talk With Me practice during our routines, rituals, transitions, all of that great stuff. So let's move on to the next, because I know we're coming up short on time.
Yes, we are. So the very last component of the talk practice is keep it going. And that's carrying on the conversation and keep the focus on what the child is interested in. And you want to continue to be tuned in and ask questions and lift language, and you want to keep going, but we want to strive for 5, right? So that's the really important part, is 5 back and forth exchanges, and you want to reinforce that target vocabulary, allow for wait time so they can think, and continue the process over and over again. So it's just really important, just because regardless, even if you have an infant and you're having those interactions with them and they are not yet speaking, but what they are giving you is an interaction. And if you acknowledge those interactions, you still can have that back and forth exchange. Okay, so that's the K. We do have another little snippet of a center time. I think if we show just a little bit of it, we can see how you can tune in and keep it going. So we'll just go ahead and play.
Yes. Oh, you shared. Now look here. That looks tasty. What's inside? What is that?
Apple.
It's an apple. It's red. It looks like an apple, but I believe it's cheese.
Red.
You think it's cheese? Can you say cheese? Pretending. Oh, yes. It's not real. It's pretend. It's pretend. It's a toy. But I want to put that. We have to eat the real cheese. It's pretend cheese. Pretend cheese. Look what we have right here. What's that?
The most important thing to remember when incorporating the talk practice is to make sure during, center time or when you're engaging with their play, try to stay within close proximity and not to bounce all around. You just want to really do try to stay focused. And again, you can still set yourself up for success with using different resources or visuals as you are feeling more comfortable and familiar with the practice. But yes, the children were really engaged in what they were doing, and she was definitely tuned in, and you saw the process. So we can go on to the next. We have a last question. How are you integrating talk into routines and transitions? If you have a moment, you can share in the comment, drop your thoughts in the chat box, raise your hand, and we can hear from you real quickly. But how are you incorporating talk into your transitions and your routines? I'm so glad, Miss King, you love all the valuable information. You're more than welcome. Thank you so much. Stay in close proximity, back and forth exchanges. But yeah, if you are new to the talk strategy, again, it's okay. You sing songs, love to sing. Yes, songs have really great language, meaningful conversations, looking at your children as conversational partners, talk to them all throughout the day. I see that. You're welcome for the information. It's definitely a journey, and you have the whole Cox Campus community as well as us facilitators to help you use two words. Yes. You love Cox Campus so much. We love you right back. Thank you. But yeah, you can integrate talk into your routines and transitions if you're just really intentional about what vocabulary you want to target and when you want to do it, and start off small. Start off in one particular area and grow. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. We want to share a resource with you that really helps. It's a teacher aid, we call it, but it just really encompasses the whole talk strategy. It breaks down everything. It gives you some other strategies for lifting language, which we did talk about, but there's building up and breaking down, restating, the parallel talk and self-talk, and then that great reminder that you keep striving for 5. And remember, it's a strive, right? So that's that. I think we made it. That
So
was quick. Sorry, guys.
Be thinking to yourselves about something that you want to try out in your classroom, and we're going to go through these bookend slides, and please take our poll at the end to let us know how we did. So be thinking about what's one thing that you want to try in your classroom over these next couple weeks. So we've got our Literacy and Justice for All initiative, and you can stay tuned with our educators in Georgia, Marietta City Schools District, and they're sharing their stories on how they're putting the science of reading into action. So we've got a great link to connect you with their resources and their journey. Next up, our next session, Connecting the Dots for Dual Language Learners Throughout the Preschool Day. That'll be from 3 to 4 p.m. on January 26, 2022. So be there. We hope to see you.